Well, hey there, guys. How's it going? Welcome back to Rule of Two Review. And E3 is basically going. Today has been the first showing for EA and their EA Play event. Pretty big deal because, as we all know, EA is not actually attending E3. They instead opted for this weird 3-day sort of EA-specific press conference or convention. I don't even know what to call it. I guess a convention that's happening in LA, right near the convention center, I guess. And, kind of to support E3 right before the show actually starts tomorrow and Tuesday. So pretty cool. I was mostly excited. I like EA. I know they're very controversial and people just want to crap on them all the time, and I get it, but I like them for the most part. I think they actually make some pretty good games. And through that excitement, of course, I was really looking forward to Star Wars games and a couple of other things as well, Mass Effect, Titanfall, these other things at their conference. Their conference just wrapped up, so I wanted to kind of share some of my feelings about it. Now, initially, I was feeling quite positive about the show the way it started, but we hit a wall where things got really, really bad. And I hate to do that because I'm not the negative Nancy and I'm not the cynical guy when it comes to gaming and that kind of stuff. But before I get to anything remotely positive, I got to talk about the bad, and I have to get this out right now. They totally shat the bed with Star Wars, at least with their presentation and their inclusion of it this year at E3, at this conference, at this showing in this convention. Wow, I cannot believe how disappointed I am with what they did. And it's because they did the same crap that they pulled 2 years ago when they first tried to show us Battlefront, and they just gave us this weird documentary behind the scenes kind of look, which in and of itself, when you just look at it at what it is actually quite cool. It's great to hear the music. It's great to see people working passionately on something like Star Wars and on the video game property and the franchise. Like, that stuff actually is cool when you look at it at surface value. But when you look at what they are supposed to do with this license, you've heard me talk about this so many times. They're the ones lucky enough to have this license for the next several years. And when you look at them being the only ones able to do so, when you look at it being an E3 show, a press conference that's not only for the people in front of you, but it's also being live streamed to the world and all eyes are on them, and we want to know, what are you doing with this license? What are you doing with Star Wars? Now is the time for Star Wars. You have this license during this time where we're blessed with a brand new trilogy. I mean, you got to be delivering, and they didn't really show the right stuff. I'm going to give the caveat with, I do still believe, and you guys need to remember this, I still believe that what they're making is probably awesome. I think that the products that they are creating for whenever they're meant to come out are going to be great. I'm excited for Visceral's games and Respawn's game and whatever BioWare does and these other teams working on other new things. I think that that's all going to be great stuff. The problem is EA didn't bring it this year. Like, what are they thinking? I can't believe that they thought coming to the show with another 2-minute documentary and just some vague details and no gameplay, like literally no new gameplay, except for like one in-game thing from, I think, Visceral's game, which is the game most people are excited for, and just someone walking out of pre-alpha footage. That's probably nothing. It's going to be nothing that we see in the final game. Like, no, that's not gameplay. That's not what we wanted. So, I don't want to spend too much time on this, but it's also the thing that I want to talk about the most is they should have shown us more. And this was a very unique conference. To be fair, they didn't treat this like a typical E3 press conference. They kept giving you updates of like what's to come next. It was literally like, it was like a news broadcast where it's like, this is what to look for in your news feed. This is going to be the next 5 minutes. This is going to be the next 5 minutes. And traditionally what we're looking for in an E3 press conference is the surprises in the presentation. And this wasn't about that. There's not going to be a surprise if a little blurb is going to come up and tell you what the next thing is going to be. They were like, coming up next, Mass Effect. Coming up next, Titanfall, FIFA, Madden, Star Wars, Battlefield. It's like, okay, well, I guess we know what we're going to be seeing. They're not trying to wow and dazzle us. They're just like, here are the facts, just the facts, and we're moving on. And for E3, that kind of does suck. I mean, from the business sense and overall, it makes sense, so I'm not super mad about that aspect. But if I try to not look at this from the lens of E3 or the lens of a businessman and just look at it from the lens of myself and a gamer and a Star Wars fan and what I was expecting EA to do and what I think they should have done, they should have shown us more Star Wars. I mean, I love the documentary, like I said, on the the face value of the documentary. Like, it was cool. I liked getting an idea of what they were doing. They went to all the different studios, and they had a couple of people talk about what they're working on at each studio and like what it means to be making Star Wars games. They dropped some vague hints about Visceral's game is a brand new story, you know, that Amy Hennig, previously of Naughty Dog, is working on. They talked to her for a couple of minutes. I'm very excited for a brand new story. That's really great, and especially coming from Visceral and Amy Hennig, fully on board. That game's going to be amazing. It's the one we want the most. But they're not showing it to us. They're not giving us trailers. They're not giving us gameplay. They're not making it playable at this year's E3. And I mean, if these games are so far off, then I get that you can't show stuff when you don't have it. But the problem is, how can you not have it? How can you not be this ready? You've had this license for a while. You wasted so much time trying to get Battlefront ready, and then you wasted a bunch of time removing content just to release it in time for Episode 7, which was a huge mistake. And so you got to stop with these mistakes. Some of this stuff should have been ready to show in some form, some way, shape, or form. And to have none of it, just wow, EA, wow. I just don't believe it. Respawn, they talked about they're working a brand new third-person game from Respawn. They confirmed that. Very excited for the game. Not happy with it not showing up today, but still excited for what they're going to be doing. I think it's going to be great. They said a few things that I liked when they talked about, we've been listening to you, the new Battlefront that's going to come out next year. We want to include the things that you want, a story mode. They talked about including the content and the eras you want. They only referenced the new films, and that's great. I definitely think that the new films need to be represented in a game like Battlefront and probably in its own game. I feel like they're going to also be including the prequel stuff, which is what I'm going to always rally for. I want more prequel content in my Star Wars lore going forward, as well as the new stuff. We always know we're going to get the old stuff, and that's the thing that bugged me about the documentary too, because they talk about all the new stuff, and we're going to include these different eras and these different things and the new films and all this, and every single piece of concept art you could see was another Star Destroyer or another X-Wing or another AT-AT, and it's like, we get it. The original trilogy is amazing. They're the best movies ever. No one is surprised by that. Now you need to branch out, okay? You gave us one game that's all original trilogy stuff. That's fine. Give us more. Now they said they're giving us more, and that's the good thing, but they didn't even show that to us in the documentary. I mean, God, here's the best thing that the documentary had, is they showed and they interviewed Doug Chiang. Doug Chiang is someone who's been working for Lucasfilm, not Disney, forget Disney in this whole stupid conversation, who's been working for Lucasfilm for close to 20 years, maybe even over 20 years. He's worked directly with George Lucas. He worked on all 3 prequel films and Episode 7 and is continuing to work on the new films. Doug Chiang is the conceptualizing master at Lucasfilm and of Star Wars. So he's working with EA and on these Star Wars games in the design and the concept phase. Thank Christ. Like, a good thing is actually happening here. And just seeing him gave me faith, because it's like, oh yeah, this shows me that they understand where Star Wars is actually coming from. It's the movie world. It's Lucasfilm. It's George Lucas. It's the people who's worked for Lucasfilm and actually worked on the freaking movies. So seeing him gave my heart a lot of hope. But again, my hope in the games has always existed and even still exists. It's just, really, in wrapping up this Star Wars rant, is the fact that they weren't prepared to show us anything. How can you not be prepared, EA, to actually show us Star Wars, this new stuff? If you're working on 7 projects like they hinted at, you got to have something ready. A lot of these games aren't coming out till next year, 2017, 2018 for Visceral's game. Like, okay, that's 2 years off. I get it. But Jesus, have a trailer, have something. And they didn't. They gave us a 2-minute montage where they took all the cool shit they're probably doing and squished it into one little veil of secrecy in one little 2-minute video. Like, that's just what they did. And that's a problem. And, you know, maybe it's my fault for being such a Star Wars fan and hedging all my bets on EA this year, showing us Star Wars stuff, but I really think that they should have, and I think it's disappointing that they didn't. So that's the bad. I spent 7-9 minutes talking about all the bad they did with Star Wars. As far as the rest of the show, you guys, here's where I'm going to probably differ from most people, because typically in the video game world, everyone's really cynical, and everyone looks for reasons. Everyone goes into everything already like ready to be unhappy with something, and it's up to people to totally surprise them with good stuff. And I'm a little bit of the opposite, if not a lot the opposite. I actually go into something already excited, waiting to see good stuff, and the stuff I'm seeing is just what it is, and then you have to surprise me with bad stuff. Case in point, Star Wars being a 2-minute documentary and not actual gameplay or announcements, that's the bad surprise on an otherwise good day. when I look at what they did overall today, honestly, like, it was pretty cool. I think that their showing itself was okay. Like I said, the format's very different because this is an EA Play event. This isn't an E3 press conference, and I think that we really saw that with stuff like the news blurbs telling you what's coming up next and things like that. But if you just look at it as the press conference and, you know, for them showing the things that they showed, I thought it was okay. What were my couple of notes here? Oh yeah, so the big things that they showed Titanfall 2, quite a bit of it, all in pretty much trailer form. And you know what? Haters be damned. I'm excited. I think Titanfall 2 looks awesome. I liked the first one for what it was. I played it like 7 months later, but I still enjoyed it, and I saw a great foundation for the future. Now, here's what's great about Titanfall 2. Yes, this was leaked this morning, but I love that they're including a single player. And they showed a great trailer showing that off. I think that they're actually spending a good amount of time to give us a pretty interesting sort of single-player mode to play through. Maybe it's co-op. I don't know if they said that or not, but it should be co-op. And you know what's cool about that, and I don't think that people are giving them enough credit, is it shows that they listened and that they're willing to listen and be like, okay, we get that that's a thing that we didn't think people really wanted. You know, Call of Duty maybe showed us the wrong trends and showed us that people don't want stuff like this. Whoa, we're wrong, our bad. Here you go. We're putting a single player mode with this great fancy trailer into this game. And like that deserves a lot of credit because in a world where we feel like these companies in this industry won't really listen and react to the gamer and the consumer, this shows that this is a company that is doing that. And they were willing to say, okay, you want this? Here you go. We're going to put it in the game. So, you know, my hat's off to EA and to the Respawn guys for doing that. I think it looks great. The multiplayer stuff looks awesome. Yes, it's more Titanfall. I mean, I don't know what we expect out of a sequel anymore. The game was Titanfall. We're getting Titanfall 2. It's going to look like Titanfall. Totally okay with that. A couple new game mechanics. Give us new modes, new maps, new story elements. Like, if it's just still a good, fun game to play with a good amount of content, I'm happy. And so far, I'm a happy camper when it comes to Titanfall, so I really liked what they showed us there. Mass Effect Andromeda is like the weird balance between what they did wrong with Star Wars and what they did right with Titanfall. Because it was just another kind of documentary thing. They're talking to some of the developers at BioWare. But they also showed a good amount of gameplay and game footage. And it looked amazing. Freaking incredible. We didn't get a lot of story elements. You know, they showed us this lady woke up from a table at the very end to close out the trailer. Makes me think that's the main protagonist. Makes me think that female is going to be the default gender. And like, I just wish they would have confirmed that one way or another. I hate that it was so mysterious. Other than that, the footage was great. I think that the game looks beautiful, and hearing the music and seeing just this universe again and seeing the races, it just got me really excited. So I think what they showed for Mass Effect was awesome. I just wish that they were willing to say, hey, here's the game, here's gameplay, here's this and that, and I don't know, release dates and whatever. And again, it feels different because it's EA Play, not E3, and I guess that's why they chose not to do that. But I have to say that I'm very happy with what I saw from Mass Effect. It reminded me how much I truly have missed that world. And again, those races, the Citadel, the universe, the plight of the whole galaxy. Like, I want to get involved in that again. I'm so excited it's coming. It looks like EA and BioWare is knocking it out of the park with Mass Effect. The surprise of the show was a lot of people are probably talking about this was the game Fe. Fe, which is this, you know, it's like this indie sort of third-person platforming game. It's like if you took Ori and the Blind Forest and mixed it with, like, I don't know, a Zelda game or a Banjo-Kazooie game or something. And it looked awesome. I loved the art style. That game actually was eerily reminiscent of Twilight Princess. I think there's a lot from that Zelda game that these guys are probably borrowing from and probably were inspired of. Totally fine with that because Zelda's great, Twilight Princess is great, and this game looks great. I love that it's just this quiet little adventure where you're in tune with nature and you're this little creature that's singing songs to work together harmoniously with nature in a really pretty platforming game. Like, it looks awesome. Very, very excited and very happy with what they're showing off there. And I love that EA went out of their way to say, we're doing this to also support small developers, and they're trying to put in place a program for indie developers to get the majority of, if not all of the profit from some of the games that they're making so that it can filter back into the company to make new exciting projects. If EA is really working hard at that and they really have a hand at that and they're actually facilitating the success of these small companies and their creative ideas, you guys, that's another thing that I think people need to talk about and pay attention to. Maybe it doesn't turn out to be true and EA just becomes the big corporation we think they are and they were just trying to sound really fancy and they don't actually deliver. But if they are delivering on this idea, I think that's fantastic. And Fe looks awesome, so very, very excited for that. Other than that, they spent, as usual, an obnoxious amount of time on sports. And it's so funny because I'm a huge sports fan in real life, and I could care less about sports video games. But I'm in the minority. You know, these games sell very well. They're a huge business for EA and for the industry. So it deserves its time on stage, you guys. We have to acknowledge that it deserves its time on stage, and especially for the fans who care about it. Half the show is in London, and in London, they eat, sleep, piss, and drink and shit. Soccer, football. They drink, they live by that sport. So they have the right to spend a lot of time on the FIFA series, and I'm sure that those people got a lot of stuff out of it. So I'm glad for them. I found it to be boring as usual. But as I said on Twitter, I love the fact that the Madden trailer featured so much of my boys, the Denver Broncos, successful Super Bowl 50 champions, by the way. So I love that the first phrase out of that was "Welcome to Denver." I got so excited when that happened. But whatever. So I don't know. That's it, you guys. That's EA's show. These are my very long-winded thoughts. So disappointed by Star Wars. EA, you effed up. You done effed up, EA, and I'm not happy with you for that. But I will say that the show around the debacle that was Star Wars was pretty good, and I was excited, even though it wasn't so fantastically exciting and entertaining. I just want to see games that I care about, and I cared about pretty much all the games I saw today except for the sports stuff, and I think that shows a lot of good stuff coming from EA. So, you know, I appreciate what they did overall. If Star Wars was knocked out of the park, I'd be saying that their show was just amazing and praising it like crazy. But I'm a Star Wars geek who wears his heart on his sleeve, and I didn't get my Star Wars stuff, so I'm really disappointed by EA's conference. Overall, though, like I said, it's okay. I'm not really going to do letter grades this year, I don't think, for conferences. I'm sure that on the podcast every week, or when we do like a whole E3 wrap-up, we'll probably end up doing like letter grades or something on that, I would think. So I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to say, overall, it was okay. Could have been fantastic if they did Star Wars right, but they didn't. So overall, it was okay. Mass Effect looks awesome. Titanfall looks awesome. And Fee looks awesome. So I'm excited for all those things. That's what EA's is. They're doing some stuff for the next couple days. Nothing exciting. Tomorrow is the other good press conferences that we know we're all excited for. So I'll be doing like a wrap-up, probably talking about those as well. Hopefully you guys are enjoying. If you want, follow me on Twitter, man. I'm tweeting about E3 all week long, because I have the week off of work, so I hope to be able to make a couple videos. I'll be on Twitter. I never promote myself on Twitter, and I should do that more often, probably. I am on it. I'm very active. I love to chat with people, so you should follow me on Twitter. It's just Rule 2 Review. It's at the end of all of my videos. If you want to chat with me about E3 as it's happening, because I'll talk shit when deserved, and I'll praise things when deserved as well, and it's just a lot of fun. That's what E3 is all about. So, thanks, of course, for tuning in, guys. Share your thoughts about EA's press conference below. Star Wars, Mass Effect, Titanfall, sports, whatever you think, good or bad, I want to hear about it. Thanks, as always, for tuning in, guys. I'll catch you next time on another video, and keep enjoying E3.